The Hebrew text in the Bible has hidden formats. By revealing these formats, I will prove the first writer's words were hidden from you. These formats look like poetry as I group them into small paragraphs. Their grouping will become known as a psalm, and together they become psalms. Let me show you our Creator's 12 commandments, listed in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Any father of a family or his wife who did not obey any one of these 12 commandments, our Creator demanded they bring him a sin offering. Thus, our Creator defined the word sin as not obeying any one of these 12 commandments. Next, I want to show you how I changed one word in Exodus 26, verse 26, the word bars to arches, and the words now reveal the style of the roof for our Creator's tent for meeting with Him. Let me show you the translator's words from the preface of the 1611 King James Bible. They gave 4 reasons for themselves or others to edit the Bible's words. The red arrow at the top points to their 3rd reason to edit the text. By the light and feeling we attained unto ourselves. The next red arrow down points to them giving the title, the Divine, to a clerk named Gregory. The next block of words, they point out they were happy that the first emperor of Rome established the year to the course of the sun. Behind this text means Nebuchadnezzar ordered his kingdom to follow our Creator's calendar when he stopped eating grass. Did you notice the letter S in sun is capitalized? This is to give respect to the Egyptian sun god Ra. Have you seen the Egyptian obelisk in the Vatican's front yard? The last arrow points to your reward for studying the Bible. Your reward is to have a fellowship with the saints and participation of a heavenly nature that will never fade away. There is no such thing as nature to a truthful Christian. Our Creator created everything. By their own words, they were not seeking to know our Creator or Jesus. Not everyone has the knowledge to correct every word. I have an old Bible program that has the New American Standard Bible 1977 concordance to help find a better word. Their concordance has the number of times they use that English word in a parenthesis for that Hebrew word. The translators removed his name, YHVH, to put in 2 titles, Lord and God. I replaced those titles using the letters Y and V as his name, for the Hebrew language does not have a J, O, or W. By using these 2 letters, I am closer to the truth than anyone using J, O, or W for his name. So why is there a single letter O in the Hebrew text 1,095 times? No proper English was used? The blue highlighted text is text that I am removing. The red highlighted words are little words that I'm adding. Gray italic words are words that I added. To respect and honor our Creator, all capital letters in purple are our Creator's words. This is Jesus' prophecy, for I am revealing the first writer's words to tell you the true truths about Jesus. As the text is revealed, you can taste the writer's style of wording. Their words will take your belief to trusting our Creator. You will be watching prophecy before your eyes as I edit true truths back into their psalms. Okay, this is going to be a quick review on Habakkuk, and what I am going to do on the right-hand side is show you what I did with this video. I already prepped it. So what you're going to see here is the combination of everything that's been done. So looks like I'm forgetting the titles on it. I wonder how come that's not working right. Okay. Anyways, that's the order of the text that's going to be there. But on this side, I just wanted to do a quick review on Habakkuk because this is actually before they were sent into captivity, I believe. Yes, because what I needed to do when I cleaned it up, I needed to move these 3 verses here from down here. They were down at the bottom, okay? And when I put them up to here, now this group here actually fits the story a little bit better. So I just wanted to show you that once it gets cleaned up, the text looks pretty good, although you see I did a little bit more editing up here at the top. But the object is that there's still going to be one paragraph here and another paragraph here, and together they make a group, and then they're going to be a small space between it, and then it repeats itself. And that's the formats that I can find, and I call them the first writer's formats, and they covered it up. Now, if you want to follow along, I'm going to be doing more of the books. I think I'm going to do Micah next. But as we learned here, Habakkuk seems to be a prophet because he answered him. And usually that's what a prophet does. He calls on our Creator, and our Creator answers him to let him know what's going on. Whoops. Not ready, not prepped here. Okay. Now this is the ending. Or this is how these books here, Habakkuk, Zechariah, Ezra as a scribe, and Nehemiah as a scribe. They are not prophets. So that's what the first writer's text proves. And what we have now is we have pieces of before the text, before they're sent to captivity. Because it's talking about something that'll be shocked at what I will do. Look and watch, for you'll be astounded and shocked at what I will do. And that was that he was going to have his house destroyed and remove utensils taken away. So here, this text is going to be at the beginning as I start to combine these books together. Nehemiah shows up second. And I explained at the end of Nehemiah that when I read this text, I had to make these changes here in gray and say that he's a scribe, not a prophet. And I've changed these here words. It's pretty much a writing of what he said. So you can see that I'm still editing as I'm going. And here I stole this from Ezra. So these two guys, Ezra and Nehemiah, are going to be in Egypt. And what I had to do was I had to change this to Israel instead of Judah, meaning that when they met by this river, I believe that this is a city by the river. And that would be that, say at the top of Israel or of Egypt, you see the branching out of the rivers off the Nile River. And I believe it's at one of them where the escapees had went to that area as a group. So this is where Nehemiah's at and where Ezra's at. I put them together. That's the only way I could make sense of this text. And then when you see how it's grouped together in the story that's being told here, we have now these words of them, and I believe this could be right after they went into Babylon, because you got to understand, this text here is talking about, but it's not mentioning Babylon. So this has to be like way before the word or Babylon is established. Let me see if I can get a map to start putting this into perspective for you. What has happened is, I believe the writing is someplace in this area here, because I have books with prophets talking about Babylon here. Example is Isaiah. Isaiah is a prophet from this time, but he's also covers a couple of these prophets or a couple of these kings as well, or these two kings, I believe. And then I will be doing Micah and stuff like that. But this side here was taken captive, Israel, the nation Israel, and this was Assyria. So this is when Assyria finally come down, and that was it. But they approached here, and this king here, he couldn't defend Israel. He didn't have an army or the nation Judah. But the prophet Isaiah talks about him, that he's going to be sent in return. So Isaiah might know about Babylon sometime after this point, but this is where I'm believing these years of this text are coming from, okay? Because here I know that there's prophets, Jeremiah, who is a prophet since Josiah's days. So here I know that they know the name Babylon. So the text in Habakkuk, though, has no name of Babylon. So it's kind of like a story kind of tells itself where the text should be placed. Okay? So this gap is going to represent other books that need to come into effect, such as Isaiah and Jeremiah. And there might be a few more. So I'm going to do some of the smaller, the so-called prophets, and find out if they're prophets or not, because I found out Nehemiah is just a scribe, and so is Ezra. So I placed Nehemiah here in this group for the simple fact that this is now talking about at a time that was right after, but they're not in Babylon, and we don't unless you see the breakout of the format, you wouldn't know when this text was actually wrote and where it was at, because when you find the hidden formats, they become like pieces of a puzzle that has to go back together. And what I'm seeing here is all this text that's being mentioned here is about what had happened, more or less. So this has to be telling them right off the bat what was had happened up there. Now there's 40 years from the time that let's see if I bring up Daniel's timeline. This 40 years is when Nebuchadnezzar comes in, and this is the end of his house. And it's talks, and these are the events that happen in Daniel. And I'll be doing Daniel, but I'm going to be doing it a little bit different, as just, well, I'll get into Daniel when I talk about him. But these are all the adjustments that I've had to make in Daniel for this to happen. And then these years here is what you're going to see that I'm starting to talk about, that I'm putting this Nehemiah and Ezra at this time, or in this 40 years. Nehemiah is going to be in this group here, and then this group down here is going to be Zechariah, I think. Let me take a look here as I go. Yeah, okay, Zechariah. Because this is starting to talk about King Denarius, okay? And now when you looked at this map, you've seen that this is the king from Babylon, okay? And this, I've got him as king of Babylon as well. It's hard to determine what, because the statute that's going to be seen by Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel tells him what he's seeing, there's this head of gold that's representing Nebuchadnezzar, okay, and how he had combined all the kingdoms that were in this area all the way down to Egypt, as one large kingdom. And then the next king becomes this guy here, Cyrus. So that's why when I was doing the text, I kind of knew some of the order of the story to put this king's name here. Now, as I go through here, this is telling us that about the year that when he starts having his vision, okay, and these visions are starting to talk about how it was peaceful and quiet, and how I told you in the last video that I got rid of so much of Nehemiah. It was so false because it was talking about how the remnant on the land were getting all being abused, stuff like that, and yet our Creator has this vision that he gives them and tells them through an angel that the land will be peaceful and quiet. And it pretty much goes to the other prophecies from our Creator about talking about it's going to be desolate and people are just going to pass through. So that is the starting of the prophecy here about Jerusalem. And then all of a sudden, we now start having text that's talking about Jerusalem. Okay, and this is a story about how the angel said Jerusalem will be re-inhabited without walls. Now that's, like, again, I had to show this text as text that I believe is the truest, and why I threw out a lot of other text that said that they're going to build the walls and this is going to be happening, because this is what's being said by our Creator through a vision. So I'm not making our Creator a liar. Okay, I'm trying to do truthful editing to get to the true stories, and that's why I've done these videos live this time around. The other videos I got below, I've got like 400 of them, I think, up now, that I went through all this text before, but it wasn't in depth like what I'm doing now. So, and I have learned more as well, because once you do these a couple times, I haven't done them like what, for about 4 or 5 years. So a lot of this is coming back to me, and I've just started doing all these videos, but it just seems that I'm getting better. And the text that I'm revealing now, I'm going to do this and then I'm done with this. Okay. So, this time around. So this is the very beginning of me starting to put the Hebrew text together as a story, as one great big long story that by these hidden formats of the first writers' formats. And then we have text here. This is talking about the harlot, how she's going to be. And I had to add all this. Her followers will be deceived and they'll be cast into the abyss. Now, this is my editing here. And if you go over why I did this, is because they actually had her made as a goddess and set in a temple that everybody was going to go to. And we know that our Creator doesn't believe in goddesses, so, or knows there's no such thing as a goddess. So the thing here is to be truthful. These are my words that I had to put in, and it's actually true that what I'm writing here, it's the most knowledge our Creator has given me is the truth that you see right here. Now it comes to the prophecy of where our Creator says his house is going to be rebuilt. I will return to my house, and Jerusalem be called his city for his truths. Now, these are what our Creator is saying, that how busy Jerusalem is going to be, because you got to understand, this is desolate area. And Zechariah, he is, I believe, a prophet among the remnant. Now, you have to understand that when Babylon was gone, or took them captives, there was Jeremiah was the last prophet with the last kingdom, and then he was left in the land, and we don't have no real timeline of when he passed away. All we now have is another prophet showing up in this remnant land, or I guess I should probably point out what land I'm talking about here. And they're returning to what's known as the Promised Land. This is known as the Promised Land, okay? This was land over here, was Moses assigned to these 2.5 tribes, their land for inheritance. But the object is that isn't the Promised Land. This side of the Jordan River, the west side, is known as the Promised Land, okay? So that's why it's cut off down here, because this, there's really no true knowledge of how far this went until after David came in and started. Well, Saul conquered the Amaleks down here below there, but then it expanded farther and farther all the way down to what's known as the Egyptian River. But this is the land that they're returning to. Now, there's this one road that goes through here. I guess I should try to draw that. It comes through here, and this road right here is known as, when you read in your text, it's known as the highway. This road is so old and so long that they go into Egypt from there. This has been traveled for thousands of years. When you look for the oldest paths of people moving back and forth in this area, this road right here, because of the way you've got all these rivers, they weren't crossing the rivers, so they had this path or this highway, and then the roads come to the highway. But this is the road that they would have come down to, and then they would have went into their own land. But with that being said, this is where he was at. I don't know where he was located. I guess I should have put that up. Down here is a city called Mizpah. And there it is. And I had to put this in on the map the best I could to say that this was where Jeremiah had lived after they went into Babylon. So this could be still the area which is being told about from Zechariah right now, because Jerusalem is supposed to be completely desolate, and it was completely burnt. All the houses were burnt. So it also means that they didn't have stone houses. They didn't have like paneled houses. They would have had houses made out of sticks, but they would have also had like a framing wood to support the other wood that they're using, or I want to call them branches from trees, I guess. But that's kind of why they didn't live in Jerusalem. But the object is this is Zechariah, and he's now being told that when our captives will return to rebuild my house, there's going to be a strong support from our Creator. He's telling, this is a message to the people from our Creator through him. Okay? And then down here, this is another vision, again, about Yah. This is Jesus's name in Hebrew. I brought it forward into the text because they had just used the word title Lord, and they were trying to use it all capital letters. And I'm going to do a video on that. I might be doing that sooner than I think. It might have to be done within a week. But the object is that They're talking about Jesus. Usually all prophets have to talk about, are given a vision or knowledge of Jesus is coming. So again, he's got the story that he's telling them Jesus is coming, even though that we're rebuilding. His promise is gonna be there again. Now, this space is not as big as what I would like it, but I don't know if there's going to be any more text that goes into here, because I'm thinking Daniel is going to have to come up somewhere. I'm thinking, where do I have that large? Yeah, right here. I think it has to be before Nehemiah. So I think Daniel's going to be stuck here. All right. But let me get back down to here. Okay. And now this, I have to go through and make sure that Cyrus is the king here. In this story, I don't know if he's Persia or Babylon. I've got to do more work because we don't have the true 5 kingdoms or kingdoms that are going to be ruling over the promised land. We know that Babylon starts, and maybe there's 4 kingdoms. And I know Persia's there, and then we're going to have Rome. Rome is the last one. Persia's got to be the one before that. But I'm thinking the one that Babylon, I think there's 2 Babylons, okay? That's why you've seen when I did the map for Daniel. Here, this was done in 2016, and this is our creator's hidden formats. So this book, this one might have Babylon 1, Babylon 2, okay? So that's how it might be, okay? Or this is going to be Persia, or we don't have the text about Persia. So this is now talking about, again, Ezra, or before Ezra. So this, oh yeah, I didn't, yeah, I said it was Ezra 1, but that's the false, right? Ezra, this is more text. And I don't know who wrote this. It can't be Ezra, okay? That's why I've got it labeled as before Ezra 1, and because it's talking about how it's going to be rebuilt. And this is a lot of the argument that was on the land. And as you can see, I've got Daniel is the one who's returned here to Jerusalem already. But this is some of the story that's happening now as they're coming down. So this is the only real text we have of them when they first got there and the problems that they went through on rebuilding his house. Because the way I understand it, though, there has to be these 70 years that's mentioned from the time that they went into Babylon, and then when Jerusalem is completely rebuilt again. This house I've got here was rebuilt in the 3rd month of his 6th year. So if you see here, 6 years, and there's possibly 7, oh no, this is Daniel. So his last year decreed rebuilt. Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers here, okay? Because I really don't know how to time his death exactly. So what I've got is it should be from here out all the way to be 70 years that Jerusalem is going to be completely rebuilt. But to rebuild his house and get it all ready took them these 6 years, according to our creator's hidden formats. Now, this text because I haven't compiled all the years together and done the great study. I will do that as I continually go. I'm going to continually edit the text. Like I said, this is kind of like a extra text to prove that the first writer's writing is what we started with. Okay, that can be found pretty much by anybody that's really skilled. I bet you if you had a school dedicated to doing just the books that I've done, the multiple people going in class and all trying to work on it together would come up pretty much with these formats. I can say that's for sure. The wording, they need to do multiple books. And then they come back into pieces into the puzzle. And what I'm doing is trying to point out some of the differences between the formats, that this text is never to replace our Creator's hidden formats. There's no way that's there. I'm just trying to show you that there is the truth that in the Hebrew text, there were writings about witnessing our Creator, and then those that I've told you, I call them mankind, and mankind means that they are their practice is to sit and meditate, to have sex with the so-called female goddess. And because it's repeatable, that's why they believe that she's a goddess. And that's why she's tied to the moon. It happens on a certain moon days. So the thing here is that's the moon goddess. Well, they had to say that the sun god, Ra, lives inside the sun, okay? And it's his rays beaten down, but he lives inside the sun. So they have been editing the text in, if you watch some of my videos of like how God, Jesus is stupid, and you see all the text, and I go over like 50 sentences that shows you that they have him being stupid with sentences. And Jesus is not God. There is no Trinity. Jesus teaches us what is Holy Spirit. So you can search what is Holy Spirit, and you should find my video on that. And I go into detail on these things. So these just aren't, if anyone's followed me, they would know that. If they watched any 5 videos, after that they know that I'm used a lot of references to make my point clear over a tiny word and what they mean. So here the utensils are being returned. Okay, and here I have the word treasury, that he put him into the treasury. Now, I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not really pretty sure. It's been so long since I've done our Creator's hidden formats. I'm re-editing now because I'm only putting up one book that you can go to. It's below on the lower right-hand corner is my website. That PDF that I have there is our Creator's message to you, and I am working on the editing of that. That should be done within a month, and that'll get reposted. So I'm going to stick with that format. I had other ones up there, but I'm taking them all down because I want it specifically his hidden format to shine true on that grouping, because the book becomes too long if I do it like this, and I can't put enough what do you call it? Links to every chapter. The Windows or Word does not let me do over like I think 100 bookmarks to go to Moses chapter 1, and then when you get to Moses chapter 1 you can click on Moses chapter 1 and go back to the title area, so they flip back and forth. But I just know that that's my problem with editing in Word right now. Maybe someday it will all happen better, but right now I'm limited on that. But I am working on that. Now, the next part here is they were rebuilding, or no, they're being assigned here. They brought the silver and gold with them. They assigned it to the high priest because he was told up here, that he's going to bring it down. And then here it's kind of like they're supposed to make up the priests first and then assign the work. Okay. And Zerubbabel here is, I'm pretty much sure that I'm going to be putting Daniel here, but not yet. But these are still editing hints to myself what's going to happen and what's going to take place. This is still before Ezra actually comes, so this is going to be this is where they started working on it actually, and where they got the cedars from Lebanon, how they come down from the Mediterranean Sea up the Jopta River, and that. Now how come? Oh, no picture loaded. Where am I at here? This is the Jopta River right here. And what they did was they brought the logs down this way, and then the cedars they brought up the river, and then they brought them over transported them to Jerusalem. Okay. So that river, if I get close enough here, you can see how this river runs right up to here. That's why this is known as the Jopta River. So the text was right with the word, or that's how I put that name of that river there, by the way. It only makes sense that way. And this is starting to talk about the problems they had when they got here. They were, these guys come over, and I think I introduced them. Where is it? Maybe it's below. I thought I'd seen their name already, but anyways, they had enemies coming from the other side of the Jordan River, and the argument goes on back and forth. And this story here is how they both sent the information back to the king, because Denarius sent them down, then he died, and then Cyrus became king. And this time here is when Cyrus was king. And this is their letter that they sent, or their complaint or whatever, letter of complaint. And then down here, we have two prophets mentioned here, Haggai and Zechariah. Now, Haggai, I can't find too much written of him, because when I did it, all of that text was wrong. So until I find a prophet that actually speaks about the return, it'll be Haggai. But we have Haggai here, and I don't know if these two guys were in the land or he come down later or with them. I don't know that, but I do know that I have him in the land of the remnant here. So But that's pretty much what I'm got going here. Yeah, this I can probably get rid of now here and say it's Cyrus. And because this king is now becoming a good guy, I give him a capital letter on his name, because these kings were actually now understood who our Creator was. And so when our Creator had him working for him to help reestablish his house, I can't not say he's a bad guy. He believes our Creator exists. So I have to give him a little bit of respect as far as other names that are in the text, like the names of the people, just say the 12 sons of Israel. They all have capital letters on them. So, yeah, and this was the argument that they go back and forth on. And then this was the letter that was sent to them back, and he was to search their deal. And then when he found the tablet, he's going to issue his decree to concerning his house. They told him what it is, and he was fully behind it. Okay, and so and this is, yeah, I had to use both of these names. The first, the finishing rebuilding by the decrees of both these. And now I told you many a times that I really try to use only one major word here in a verse. But as you can see here, I've got 1, 2, 3 in this verse. I just can't get away from them. Okay, now that's a lot different than our Creator's hidden formats. They have rules, and I would have to live with only one of these here. But I wanted to make sure he still got credit that he was involved in this, because the story tells me that. Now, this is when Ezra is in Egypt, and the king calls him to, here's his name, the king of Egypt. And I've got to give him respect too, because he had believed what happened in Babylon, and so he sent those that were in his land back to Israel as well. But he called Ezra and talked to him about it. And so Ezra told him the story of what's going on. And as you know, all Egypt would have definitely known about Israel, even though it was maybe 500 years ago. Maybe 600 years, I think, before, I'll say 500 years, when Egypt got the plagues from our Creator. But anyways, he goes through and he sends them back up there as well. And this is his story about how they return. So this is really, I would say, 99% of the text we have right now that I'm pretty sure of, even though I'm going to do some of the little prophets, or so-called books of the prophets, the small ones first, because the other ones I know are too specific about at different times. But any text that I can find that would be talking about this time in history, I will bring it forward in the text. But right now, this is the only story we have of them building up. And then at the very bottom here, I've got text that I've got right here that I'm thinking this came from Isaiah's vision, because he is just and humble. He'll be riding on a donkey. Now, the thing here is the only one that had the vision of Jesus dying on the way he did comes from Isaiah. And when I get into the text, there's a lot of pieces that are going to be shuffled around to show you one great big long story of how he knew everything that was going to happen. So other than that, I'm going to call it for this video. So other than that, I'm going to just shut this one down and start on the next one.